Jersey Joe here.
Yes, I'm saying it. Yes.
Okay.
That's hysterical.
So today I'm making bruschetta chicken, and it's a very simple recipe, very easy to make. What I have done is I've taken 3 chicken cutlets that I cut up and pounded, and I covered them with olive oil and salt and pepper. And I have here, I took plum tomatoes and I diced them. Washed them and diced them, and I have about 3 tomatoes for every chicken cutlet. So I have, what I did was I cut up 9 plum tomatoes. I diced them up. And then I have in this pan, I have my olive oil, and I'm going to put in the onions.
1 onion?
This is too small, but yeah, it's usually I use 1 medium onion, and garlic. And again, I usually say 3 to 4 cloves of garlic, but this took about 8 because they were very small. So I'm going to say that's about 2 tablespoons of garlic. And then I just put them in the pan. And with the tomatoes. Sometimes I'll add a little bit more olive oil. It depends on how they start cooking, because I just like a little bit of olive oil on them. And I let it cook down. That's about all I do. Put salt, pepper on them. How much salt and pepper? I go across. That's about how much I use. Salt and pepper. You see the size of the pan? It's a 12-inch pan. Sprinkle across back and forth twice. There you go. That's it. And I let it start to cook. And that's what I do there. And that has to cook down. When I get closer towards the end, after this is cooking, then I add the basil. You don't want to add the basil too early. So usually I use fresh basil, but since this is late or early spring, late in the season, I don't have any fresh basil left over. So I will use fresh basil when I start my garden again. Okay, so I have the chicken cutlets, and I put them on a griddle that has been greased, but also is very, very hot. And like you just asked me, couldn't I cook this in the cast iron pan? I could, but then I don't get the lines on it that I like when you cook it on the griddle. So, and it gets, the griddle is kind of like grilling it, and I like that. And as you see, the edges start to get a little white, and if it's not sticking, you know that it's getting cooked, because if they stick, they're not cooked. I love my cast iron griddles and pans. But what I don't cook these through on here, I just brown them on each side, because they eventually go back in there. So the tomatoes have cooked down a little bit, the onions, and I'm going to add basil. The basil, as I've told you in the past, adds a little sweetness, which is what you need, especially when you're cooking fresh tomatoes. Because fresh tomatoes, if they're not ripe enough and they're not the right tomatoes, they could have a tendency to be a little bit acidic. That's perfect. And then if you see the chicken has been browned on that side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish cooking these, and then I remove them from there because they're going to go into there. So the chicken has been browned. We have the tomatoes in here. And then what I do is I take the chicken and I put it into the pan. And I cover it with the tomatoes. And now it's going to go into the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. Okay, so the chicken has been in the oven for about 15 minutes. And now what I'm going to do is just take it and cover it with mozzarella. Because what goes into bruschetta? Tomatoes, basil. I put in chopped mozzarella. And that slides back into the oven. As you see, and I don't remember if I said this before, my favorite pan to cook in is my cast iron pan. I'm pretty sure I told you that, but you'll see me use that quite frequently. And this is one of the reasons, because it just goes from the stovetop into the oven, and there it is.
Just till the cheese is melted?
Just till the cheese is melted. So maybe about 5 minutes I give it. So now you have the finished product. You can take this, you can put it over pasta, an angel hair, or a fine pasta would be good with this. You could take it with your crusty bread and put it over your crusty bread, like a bruschetta. And it goes well with a salad and the bread. It's delicious. Great meal. So you know what I always say. Eat what you want. Life is short.
Jersey Joe.
Jersey Joe out.